BPod Studios.
Need a new heating system? Get it fast with Rodenheiser, offering free consultations with upfront pricing and emergency next-day installation. Check them out at Rodenheiser.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston Hill for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
This is Kristaps Porzingis.
Left-hand dribble, lobs it. Porzingis catches with one hand and throws it down.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the workday at 10. Right now, it's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. This hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Bert Breer is the senior NFL reporter and only content strategist on the MMQB. Bert is brought to you by Bentley University.
How many people left in that department?
All right, listen, it's not good.
We still got people.
Yeah, let's not push Bert on the air. He's been nice enough to get up in Vegas for us. Bert is brought to you by Bentley University, a force for business, a force for good. Bert joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline this morning. Bert, I'm hearing Vegas is an abject nightmare for you. I'm hearing that it's no fun at all.
It got a little better last night, I would say. A couple of things broke my way finally, but it's just been a weird week. I really thought like this city would be able to absorb people the way that New Orleans did. You know, most cities, and you guys have been in them, Houston, Atlanta kind of get overwhelmed by the Super Bowl, right? And by the time you get to the weekend, it's impossible to move around. And I felt like when any event like that goes to New Orleans just kind of swallows it whole. New York did that too with the Super Bowl. I was wrong about that with Vegas.
Indianapolis handled the Super Bowl.
Indianapolis did a really good job.
Indianapolis did a really nice job. New Orleans or Vegas, I just put it this way. By Wednesday night, I was on a shuttle bus coming back from Niners Access. It took 45 minutes to take 2 left turns.
Well, yeah, because Zolak and Bertrand were telling us yesterday that they were trying to just go out to dinner. Like nothing, this isn't, like spoiled behavior. Like they were just trying to go out to dinner. And it was an hour for an Uber if you were lucky. And then they had to finagle like a ride from like someone inside the hotel. And they were charging like some exorbitant amount of money. And then once they got into the car, they couldn't make it anywhere anyway. So Vegas shouldn't have the Super Bowl. Like, I don't care that it's like fun and there's things to do.
It's also only fun if you're 25.
Yeah, right. I know. Listen, I'm just saying. I'm trying not to sound. I'm trying to lower my douchebaggery to a certain degree. I don't think Vegas is that great either. But if you can't get anywhere, then you shouldn't have the Super Bowl.
But things happen here that don't happen other places. And here's an example of it, right? So yesterday I got to get to Niners Access, and I do NBC Sports Boston, and it's sort of like a tight time thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not going to be able to get the shuttle, so I have to get an Uber. So I basically wait for 15 minutes for an Uber to come, and I order it and everything else. And and Hardy will know where this is. The Niners are all the way out at Lake Las Vegas, right? So I wait 20 minutes for the Uber. I call ahead so everything's going to be on time. Again, it's going to be really, really tight. The Uber comes. I get in the car, and the guy looks down at his screen. He's like, "Where are you going?" And I say, "Lake Las Vegas." He's like, "Oh, I'm not going out there." He's like,
You accepted the ride.
I accepted the ride. I had my credit card. He has all of that. I pre-tipped him, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going out there." He's like, "I'm a premium Uber," which whatever the hell that means. I guess I'm a premium Uber. I don't do that.
Masters.
And then he acted like I was the one who was crazy for being upset that he wouldn't take me out to a work thing, like a half hour away. So I missed Niners Access yesterday because the Uber driver showed up, let me in his car, and then refused to take me where I was going.
Which is weird because they know ahead of time where you're going. But all right, so Bert,
right? How strange is that? I was like, did you not look at the app? That was when he got really mad. I was like, did you not look at your phone and see where you were, where I was ordering Uber to?
You're in the right. I've had a million cabs. I'm sure we all have. Like tell you, like you go to a cab like after a Celtics game, and you go like, I want to go home, and they go like, where? And then you tell them, and then they're like, no. And then you give them your address, and you're like, well, would you come over after you get off work? You're kind of cute. But then, but you were all jazzed up, Bert, about this Airbnb because you stayed at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, which people are saying is nice, I guess, when they talk.
I wasn't jazzed up, and I didn't mean for Jim Murray to bring that up on the air. I'm fine.
Wait, what happened? I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a preemptive strike by Bert because he knows where we're going.
Well, no, I actually don't. What happened with Jim Murray?
Oh, he brought it up on the air yesterday.
What up on the air?
The Airbnb. He brought it up on the air yesterday, which I didn't want to. I don't want to complain about it on the air.
Why?
It's fine. I'm good.
It's a dump.
Well, no, I told him.
Hardy told you it'd be a dump. He said it's a bad neighborhood.
It's fine.
It's a bad neighborhood.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
No, but it's not. Why are you afraid of offending the owner of the Airbnb?
Because I don't want to sound like the spoiled sports reporter at the Super Bowl.
Oh, you don't like your lodging? You're on a work trip and have a problem with your lodging? How is that being spoiled or like a 1%er?
How about this, Bert? Nothing to do with the accommodations. How is the neighborhood? Because I wasn't sure. I just told you not to go up a certain road.
You didn't know. I don't there's just nothing where we're at. There's just nothing there. You know what I mean? We're close enough. So we're about 2 miles probably from like the strip.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're that far from anything, but there's just nothing here. It sort of feels like it's right next to the highway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
so you can just walk on there and get a hit as soon as you want.
But this is something about Las Vegas, and we were talking about it.
Depending on how your night goes, right, Fred?
Exactly.
Right. Much earlier this morning, and Maz had said something to me too. He's like, "Oh, we're having fun and all this stuff." He said, "But you can't leave Radio Row and go have dinner." I'm like, "Oh no! Unless you're staying in the hotel, you can't walk out of the hotel and walk around and go someplace to eat, unless you want to eat at the Hard Rock on the Strip. Because what you have to do is go into another hotel and casino, and then go through the maze." And whether it's going from place to place, walking, or whether it's driving anywhere, this is kind of like a design. I won't call it a flaw of the town. It's how the town is designed to keep you wherever you are. If you're in a hotel, it's all sociologically designed to keep you there. And they don't want you bopping from place to place. Every hotel and casino is designed to keep you in that spot.
I had that problem last night where I was literally – so we went to eat in the at a restaurant in the Venetian, right? Yes. And I had gone to a party at Caesars, and they are legitimately right across the street from each other. Oh. And it took me asking 3 different people to figure out how to get out of Caesars so I could cross the street in the right place to get to the Venetian.
Yes.
I think that's exactly what you're talking about, right?
We're never going to Vegas for the Super Bowl under any circumstances, even if we're taping the show. I'm not going.
I will say this, Fred. The New Orleans remains the undisputed champion of Super Bowl.
I will go to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. I'm not going to Vegas, even if we tape
next year.
I'll go to New Orleans next year, and I will go to. Do you think a lot of guests will go to New Orleans, Bert, like there are in Vegas? Do you think it's like a destination for people?
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, Emily. I ask Emily. I ask Emily every year if she wants to come to the Super Bowl with me, and it's always no. The one she said yes to is New Orleans, and I think she's going to go again next year.
Well, I'll ask you, out of everyone at the station, only Felger brought his wife. He brings his wife to the Super Bowl every year. Do you find that odd?
No. I mean, I invite Emily. If she wants to come, she can come.
For the whole week?
I mean, this year might be a little weird with other people in the Airbnb, but if she wanted to come, she could come. Wouldn't be a problem.
Right. I understand that if she said, hey, I would love to go to this city for the week, could I come with you, that you love the woman and that you would be like, yes, indeed, I wouldn't mind sharing the time with you. That would be not an inconvenience. I'm just saying every year Felger has his wife there for the week. I'm just wondering.
She doesn't come for the whole week, does she?
Yeah.
I had a lovely conversation with Sarah yesterday.
She's a lovely woman.
Very nice.
I'm not insulting it. I'm just asking. I'm legitimately asking, do you think it's odd? Do you think it's odd, Hardy?
A little bit.
No.
A tiny
I
little
know
bit.
a couple other guys. I know a couple other guys whose wives come in. I mean, I think most of us who go every year at least put it out there, and some wives take the husband up on it and others don't.
No,
It's
I could
not
see
like,
once, but she was like in Phoenix. She was in Indianapolis. She was in Houston. Like, she's just at all of them.
Well, maybe she just likes the scene, Fred.
Okay. I just was asking.
I don't know.
And as I explained to Fred, some of us are lucky enough to be married to our best friends. So, it's not out at all.
Yeah, my marriage didn't work out on the economy being
Sorry,
deplorable.
Fred.
Yeah. Well, either did Wallach first.
I'm sorry we had to go down this road, Fred.
Yeah, thanks a lot for me bringing it up. All right, Bert, you're with us. You were kind enough to stay up. We will get into football talk. We will talk about the NFL as it stands now. We will talk about the Patriots. You have some stuff you've written about the Patriots of late. I just wanted. Did people complain on Twitter about you talking about the Airbnb? Is that what the problem is?
No. It's not Twitter. It was just like Jim brought it up. And I didn't tell Jim not to bring it up, but Jim brought it up on the air yesterday, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna because I did bitch about it, Jim, and then I'm like, oh crap, this sounds like I'm spoiled.
Oh, please. No, it doesn't. It does not.
He had the bleep grin on his face. I don't want to sound like that. You know what I mean?
Well, get out of here.
I actually think people kind of like it
And by the way,
when you
and by-
find
and
out
somebody-
that you're miserable.
Yeah, when
in
you're
an otherwise
miserable, people love
idyllic,
it.
If you're in an otherwise idyllic setting, I like
That's
hearing
true.
that people are having a crappy time because then I don't have the FOMO. And I'm like,
And
oh, good, I'm
and the
glad I'm out
truth
there.
is, and the truth is, somebody who was left town last night just gave me their hotel room, so things got significantly better.
All right, there you go. Very good. Okay, we will be with Bert. We'll find out everything that happened in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
Twitch feed of this is going to be used all around the internet.
Get up.
The cat is finally out of the bag.
Get up.
We're back. Toucher and Hardy.
Get up.
98.5 The Sports Zone.
All right, Bert Breer, senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. He cheated on us. He's allowed on the middays, but he's not allowed on Felger and Maz. And John is telling me that Bert has stuff that they were salivating over that is football related, Patriots related.
They lost their effing mind for about an hour and a half based on this report, Bert, on what you said, and the fear when the Patriots hired Gerard Mayo, promoted Gerard Mayo, and he started hiring a coaching staff, is that Jonathan Kraft would be involved in this. We were told that he wasn't going to be involved, but then he had a member of his staff in interviewing offensive and defensive coordinators, correct?
Right. Well, first of all, I didn't cheat on you guys. I was just sitting there, and they pulled me onto the set because the story that I had written hadn't posted yet, and they wanted to get to it because I had told them what I had and what I was sitting on. So I apologize, Fred, if you were offended at all.
Well, that'd be like if I was dating a girl and she's like, like I was just sitting around and the guy pulled me on top. I mean, like, I'd be like,
Is that sort of thing happen to you now? I don't know. It's a wild
you're
world.
assuming that I know any
that
women.
game for a bit.
You're assuming I know women, which I cannot attest to. Go ahead.
But anyway, yes, Bert, who's involved?
Yeah, so this actually started when I was looking at and I was digging into how they'll be structured from now till April, which is with Elliot Wolf at the top of personnel department, Pat Stewart overseeing pro, and Macro overseeing college scouting. And so as I kind of dug around all of that, I was able to dig out who was involved in the offensive coordinator interviews. There are 4 people in the on the Zooms. And so the 4 people on the Zooms were Gerard Mayo, as you'd expect, the head coach. Matt Groh's in charge of the personnel department last year. Elliot Wolf is in charge of the personnel department this year. and then Robin Glazer, who is, I think her title is EVP of Football Business. Is that it? You guys have to look that up. I think it's
How the hell would
EVP
we
of
know?
Football Business.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I mean, so anyway, so she's, I believe her title is EVP of Football Business. So yeah, she's involved in the interviews, and part of it, guys, like, was that the Patriots did go to the league and they talked to the league about their search. They haven't done these sorts of things in a while. And the league advocated for a diverse panel. So this is obviously a pretty diverse panel. And bringing in somebody who doesn't have as much of a football background does make you more diverse. Obviously, she's a woman. So that's part of it too. But yeah, I mean, like, the fact that her name had sort of been a lightning rod in that Seth Wickersham story. So that's where it got some people's attention.
Okay, so now we're in a weeds that I don't understand. So I'm just assuming some other people might not either. What was in the Wickersham article about her?
It was that, like, she and Jonathan Kraft had become more involved in football ops, and that, like, she's been very, I'd say, trusted confidant and lawyer for the Kraft family for a long, long time, and so that somebody who came from like outside the traditional football background and into the football operation might have irked Bill, and her role wasn't really formalized or official until Drod was hired as the head coach. So all of that's relatively recent, and that she'd be in the interviews would indicate that maybe she is pretty intimately involved in everything that's going on.
All right, how unique is that for a team to have someone with her title that doesn't have a huge football background being involved in a meeting like that?
So there are two ways to look at this. The first way is that, yes, there are teams that are structured this way because there's a feeling that the general manager job, the head coach job is those jobs have become too big to have one person overseeing everything. And so, the Niners have it with John Lynch and Prague Marath, who's been their EVP of football operations for a long time. The Rams have it with Les Snead and Kevin Demoff. The Lions have it with Brad Holmes and Mike Disner. The Panthers are doing it now and bringing in Brant Tillis from Kansas City to pair with Dan Morgan. The idea is to pair a business side person, a cap side person, and an analytics side person with a more traditional scouting type of GM to sort of split the job. Now, the difference between Glazer and Disner with the Rams, Tillis with the Panthers, Pastors and Demoff with the Rams, and Marath with the Niners is all those guys did come up in football. They were working on the cap. They were working on different things within the football operation that maybe were the non-football types of things, like the non-scouting, non-coaching types of things. Glazer's sort of coming in more from the outside, which, would make people think she's more of an operative of the Crafts than a traditional football hire.
I'm having trouble working up any kind of upsetness about this.
Felger and Maz went bananas.
This is why it's well, Bert, let me just say this is why I think it's compelling for people, or at least for me, because talking to two different people that I know who know the team pretty well, one of them said, if you ever get a chance to talk to Jonathan or anybody like that, ask them flat out, like, who is Robin Glazer? And another person that I spoke to, who also knows the team pretty well, said, whatever you do, don't ask about Robin Glazer. Like, it is someone that both has this, like, mystique about them because they're not quite sure. And anyone who does know anything of it, or this other person who does know, said, like, oh, yeah, you don't want to open up that Pandora's box. It's someone who is, if not feared inside the building, there's enough element of the unknown and enough power wielded by her where it's like you don't want to get into that.
But she's not making personnel decisions. She's making business decisions and maybe contract decisions. Are you under the impression she's scouting players and has like a say on outside of the financial aspects of it on their football ability?
No, and I have no indication that she's got designs on doing that. But I would say it's fair to say that people with those sorts of backgrounds have used these sorts of, I'd say, promotions or job shifts to have more of a say in football operations. And deep down, some of these people do want to do those sorts of things. So that would be where the concern would be. Again, we've seen it before, and I think there's a lot of it with the analytics people coming over, and a lot of the analytics people in other organizations will go in saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to be a scout, or I don't want to assess players. I just want to work with the data, and help the football people make the decisions." And then before you know it, they're in charge.
Yeah, but if you look at but there was a story that Vrabel didn't get a job partially because of his physical size. So I don't envision these front offices. Look, Mike Lombardi was just a huge prick on Felger and Mass for an hour, and he's an Oompa Loompa. I mean, I don't it's not, it's not like everyone's that Lawrence Taylor is running the front offices of these teams.
I think that was a little different, though. I think the Vrabel thing sort of relates to why Belichick doesn't have a job. I think the Vrabel thing's different.
Right. You know what I'm saying, though. The Rossini thing said that his size, that someone told her, someone with the front office said, well, he's a big guy. And you're like, well, Jesus, who's in these front offices? And they're afraid he's going to hit him? Like his size?
No, here's what I think it is. I think with that, and I know what the person Diana was talking to is getting at, and it's like in a weird way, it's the same thing as with Belichick, right? And we've talked about this where these owners, every one of them, it's almost like they'd rather be, a lot of them anyway, not every one of them, but a lot of them would rather be like the Apple or Microsoft of football than win a championship. A lot of them would want to be like the forward-thinking, innovative organization, right? So they study what EPL teams are doing and Major League Baseball teams are doing and NBA teams are doing, and they become obsessed with, I want things structured this way, and I want analytics over here and scouting over here, and the head of football operations and the GM underneath him, and he reports to him and all that different stuff. And so they get it in their heads that they got to structure themselves like a baseball team or a basketball team or a soccer team. And then it becomes hard to fit certain people into those structures. And so that's where I think it becomes more difficult for a Vrabel or a Belichick, who has a really strong idea of what they want to do and how they want to set it up and how much power the head coach should have. And so the fear becomes, if you hire that guy, he's going to come in and walk all over everybody, which is where the physical stature thing comes into play with Vrabel in a funny way.
Right. But I know what you're saying.
He's an intimidating figure.
But what you're saying is one thing. But, I mean, the point was that it was literally his physical.
Yeah, it was phrased differently.
It was phrased differently. What you said is logical.
Like people are afraid he's going to come in and beat you up if you don't.
I mean, I'm not, John. That's how it read.
That's how it read to me too.
I'm not doing like a show where I need to get pissed off about sports for 4 hours.
It was a bizarre circumstance where it made you stand up and think, really?
Yeah,
at this level?
Let
really?
me put it this way, Bert. You've known me long enough. I could give a rat's ass if this lady's involved in anything, and she can do whatever she wants. This physical size of Vrabel thing read weird, like super weird. I don't think they were necessarily getting at what you were saying. I think that because what you're saying makes sense. Like someone comes in with a big personality and they start pushing, not literally pushing people around, and like you get kind of put in a corner, not literally. The way she was saying it was literally, he's physically intimidating. Like he's too intimidating a figure physically. Yeah.
Well, it's like what Chip Kelly did in Philadelphia, right? Where like that last year, like Howie Roseman was like, Milton from Office Space. and it was Chip has an idea of how he wants to do things. And he'll make it work in the beginning, but then by the end, he'll have put himself in a position where he's the one making the decision, and the nerds are over, on the other side of the building.
Well, you would think Dan Campbell would be the like alpha guy, and we've come to find out, if you believe it's true too, is that there's 15 analytics guys telling him what to do during the game. So I mean, so I mean, Dan Campbell's large and talks of violence and is a rallier of men, and he's listening to analytics guys. So I mean, it is what it is. All right, Bert,
that would be a pretty good fight. By the way, I don't know who you guys have in that one, Vrabel versus Campbell.
Vrabel's a freak. Vrabel's you went to Ohio State. Vrabel's I mean, is there a bigger legend at Ohio State? There's not many bigger legends than Vrabel, right? Him versus Orlando
but Dan
Pace.
Campbell, Dan Campbell's a big dude too. Like I think that would be a good fight.
Oh, yeah. But they're both rich now, so.
Yeah.
Kneecaps, ankles. Campbell fights dirty, and he doesn't apologize for it. I'm going Campbell.
You know, but he loves just as hard. You know?
Sensitive soul deep down.
Yeah. I mean, he'll fight, but he'll love you. He's like a lot like Dalton from Roadhouse. You know? With a nice young lady that is a little too attractive for Hardy's taste. All right, we will be back. We will have more with Bert. We can. Felger and Mass got an hour and a half out of that.
Oh, boy, they were pissed.
They do very well.
I was in the car the whole time. They were angry. Really angry.
Do you know why they're angry?
No, they think it's an example of Jonathan Kraft meddling, where he has no experience.
It was great.
Go ahead,
I don't
Bert,
know.
sorry.
I don't know, John. It's like when I told Felger off the air, like what I was reporting, I would describe his emotion more as giddy than angry.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I hadn't looked at it that way, but yes.
I'm having trouble.
Content is king, John. Content is king.
Content is king. I'm having trouble. And God bless Felger Maz. Lord knows they don't need my help, but I'm just talking for my own thing.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble getting pretty riled up about this thing. It just sounds like they had someone. It's like a lawyer in a meeting. I mean, all right. It's not like she was the only one. What was the thing? Who got fired? And then we found out Patricia was in the meeting.
Oh, that was Cam Newton. When they brought in Cam Newton to cut him, it was just Bill and Matt Patricia to tell him he can cut loose.
That was like, okay, like why is Patricia in there? That bugged me. All right, I bet you this woman's much more intelligent than Matt Patricia.
No,
he was a rocket scientist.
No,
I like guys. I do think I do think Mike and Tony's point on it though was this is like the fear here would be that the Krafts are meddling. Now, I think we'll see what happens, but that would be the fear.
Yeah, right. But there's a difference between Jimmy Johnson, being
exactly. There's a difference between they're the owners of the football team and assembling a staff that they think is going to be the best version of a structure to run a football team and meddling.
Yeah, I don't want them like in the draft room, like whispering in ears,
right?
But if it's about all right, whatever. I don't know. We'll move on to something else.
How about the Super Bowl?
I'm trying to get riled up about it. I'm hitting empty.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough.
I have to ask Bert my yearly Hall of Fame vote question.
Oh, Jesus. You in that Hall of Fame that no one cares about.
I have to ask.
No one cares.
I care.
No.
Rodney Harrison didn't get in. I care.
Who cares?
Me.
You and Rodney Harrison are the only two people that care.
Fine.
Rodney Harrison, Jesus Christ. John is on Twitter yelling and screaming. No one cares. It's falling into the ether. All right. We have Bert Breer, who is getting out of this Airbnb. It's gotten a little too lovey in there. He found a punch bowl full of keys, and he had to get out. All right. We will be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
Dutcher and Hardy, the reviews are in.
I got to say, I don't want to talk about you. Give me about 5 minutes of my time.
What he said. Now more of on the Sports Hub.
All right, we got Bert Breer on, and if we were doing the stack, but Bert's in Vegas, so he's nice enough to do 9 o'clock, which is the reason he's doing 9 o'clock is precisely the reason we're not there, is that we would have had to go on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and guess what? I'm not doing that. The stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for great deals in a new Ford? Go to the Best First, Best Ford in Nashua. For more info, head to bestfordofnashua.com. And the station really pushed back. They were like, we want to pay for you to go.
Right.
They're like, can we please just throw money away? This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Bert. Where you like the Van Pelt signing, even though he didn't call plays, but there is an interesting narrative that's going around about, and we talked to Hurley about it earlier in the show, that Gerard Mayo the story came out that he had the $10 million buyout, so Gerard Mayo knew he was going to be a coach. He probably didn't think he was going to be coach this year, but if you know you're going to be a head coach, you would think that you would have your eye on talent. Like, you're breaking down film, you're aware of who does what well, you're in those coaching circles. Do you feel like Gerard Mayo or the Patriots did enough due diligence that they were prepared enough to hire coaches? And do you think that they've settled as a result of their unpreparation or non-preparation?
I think it's a very fair question. And I think, again, you can use the Bears as the example because I think Shane Waldron would have been perfect. They get fired in Seattle. He's called plays there for a couple of years. He was Sean McVay's right-hand man in both Washington and L.A., and he worked for the Patriots twice before. And the Bears' job wasn't that attractive, guys. You know what I mean? Like, right. There's a chance with a new team president that the head coach, Eberflus, and the general manager, Poles, are going to be gone after this year. So how did they get Shane Waldron? Well, because they identified him and they went after him aggressively. And if Waldron had gone through the process with, all these teams that had put in interview requests for him, then he might have had 3, 4, 5 interviews. But the Bears got ahead of it by getting aggressive and paying him and like putting something in front of him that he couldn't turn down just to wait on the other teams. And so I think by not maybe having a more targeted search, you prevented yourself from doing something like that. And so like you wind up in this spot. And so, I think, like the fact that Nick Caley didn't take the job, I think is maybe threw them for a loop a little bit. And then like, I think Gerard being new at this and not having the same network that a guy who's been coaching for 20 years has put him in a position where they had to work through a lot of names. Again, I think Alex Van Pelt's a really good offensive coach. I think backstopping him with Ben McAdoo is smart. But I certainly think that the lack of an established network, that your head coach would normally have did hurt the Patriots a little bit here.
Bert, I want to ask you something Super Bowl related about Andy Reid specifically, because somebody asked him if he would consider retiring, especially if the Chiefs won. And this is something that got, batted about as to, there might be a spot for Bill to go to if Andy Reid decides to step down. Leaving that silliness aside, when he was asked about it, I think it was just yesterday, it wasn't a flat out no. All he said was it was something that had enough ambiguity to it to make me think, oh, maybe he is actually thinking about that. Did you hear that go down, and have you heard anything else?
Yeah, so I was there for that. And I think it's similar to what he did last year, if I remember right. Or it was at one of the Super Bowls. He gave a similarly ambiguous answer before the game, and then may have come out after the game and said, I'm planning on being back. There's two things that I can give you on this, Hardy. Number one, he doesn't come off as somebody who's about to retire, to the people there at least. And I had somebody there say to me, it doesn't matter how early you get to work, his car's there. It doesn't matter how late you leave work, his car's there.
He's
still
a big runner.
The job, and
he might be running.
Getting a workout in at the facility.
Yeah, it sounds.
Hitting the taco bar, the cafeteria. No, I think, guys, I don't like people who are there say he still carries himself like somebody who coached for another 10 years. And he's got Patrick Mahomes. And he's got, probably multiple shots at championships left. And so, the people who are there don't think he's walking away. Now, the other thing I heard is that, like a lot of coaches do, he's probably going to take a few days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, to decompress after the Super Bowl before he finalizes any decision. And, the combine starts 2 weeks from Monday. I would think that between the Super Bowl and the combine, he probably makes a more firm decision on his future. But again, the people who are there who work with him day to day don't think he's going anywhere.
All right. There was someone who said Fred really wanted to say to Ken Griffey, Fred really wanted to say you're complaining on the Hall of Fame was falling on deaf ears, but he decided to be nice. So we can finish the week, John.
Oh, thank you.
With you talking to Bert Breer. Super Bowl Sunday.
Fantastic.
Coming up on Sunday. The floor is yours.
All right.
I'm being told I interrupt you guys and don't let you speak.
Okay. Why is Rodney Harrison not in the Hall of Fame, Bert? 30 career sacks, 30 career interceptions, got passed over.
I honestly, John, I'm going to pull up I didn't watch NFL Honors last night, so I'm looking at the class now. I want to have it in front of me. I think it's very difficult to pick who's going in and who's not going in, right? And so I always want to respect the voters, and because I don't have a vote, and I know it's a hard job. I'm looking at the list though. I don't know, Devin Hester.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, maybe this should have been the year. Like just looking at the list, I would say there are a couple things though. Just go to the Hall of Fame website, John, and look up the safety position. There just aren't a lot of safeties that are in, period. It took Steve Atwater, who was a great safety when I was a kid, forever to get in. I think he was eligible for over a decade before he got in, right? John Lynch, it took a while for him to get in. So, I think a lot of it was he the third best safety of his generation, fourth best safety? Where would you put him? I think it's like where he stacks up with the Ed Reeds, the Troy Polamalu's, the John Lynch's, and how many guys in that position get in, period. I think that's part of it. And then I think the other part of it, which I think is massively unfair, is like the Pro Bowls and the All Pros, right? And I think we all know what a good player he was, but I think he might have only made 2 Pro Bowls. Is that right? It's something like that.
Yeah. And then there's the PED suspension. I understand that.
Yeah. And so, I think that there's just more to sort through. Now, people who defend Rodney, the people who worked with him, the people who played with him, the people who coached him, will say to you the reason why, he didn't get those honors is because those are a popularity contest, and Rodney was never very popular. He was seen as a dirty player. Other teams' fans didn't like him. So maybe that was a factor in why he didn't make more Pro Bowls, and the lack of Pro Bowls prevents him from getting in. I think it's 2. Is it more than that?
It's 2.
So that's the thing is it's hard to put a 2-time Pro Bowler in, right?
I can understand that, but you watched him play.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair either. You know what I mean? But I'm just telling you, that'd be a reason. How many guys who've made that few Pro Bowls have gotten in?
Not many. That's true.
Probably none.
Well,
right?
I'm convinced, Bert. You've turned me completely around.
And that sucks because I think it does suck because I think the Pro Bowl, there's no all-star list in sports that's a bigger sham than the NFL Pro Bowl. Maybe it's a little bit more legitimate now because you don't have the injury replacements the same way you did with everybody faking to get out of playing, But yeah, I think it's, I think it is as much of a popularity contest as any all-star list in all of sports. And so I think it is unfair that that's what somebody like Rodney would be judged on, but that might be why. I think he actually has more All-Pros than he has Pro Bowls. Is that right?
It's the same. I think it's 1 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not more than that.
Right.
All right, thanks, Bert. I appreciate it. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate
that's the problem, though. No, but I'd say that's the problem. You know what I mean? If you didn't get to watch him day-to-day, play-to-play, all that.
Well, Wallaholics, you just got your wish. That was unadulterated, uninterrupted.
Hot Hall of Fame talk.
By John Wallach. I stood out of the way.
Rodney should be in. What can I tell you?
And so now, from now on, Nick, take that break. Take it. And then whenever anyone says Fred talks too much, you take that break and you send it to him and you go, you're right. And just know that I've learned a lesson. February 9th, 2024 at 9:50, I learned my lesson. Bert Breer, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad your accommodations have improved. Enjoy the Super Bowl. How many people in the press box? Are you in a press box or do you get to sit down?
I'm in the press box, yes.
Do you get to sit
down?
Mean,
how many people?
Like, is there like 5 million people in there you can't move around?
Well, it's tight, but it's like the normal, it's like whatever the normal capacity would be. And then they have the auxiliary press box. You know what that is?
I've been to the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah. The auxiliary press box in the basement watching it on TV is what my auxiliary press box was.
No, there's 2 levels of it. So there's the auxiliary press box in the stands, right? So you basically set up desks in the stands. So there's that. I've sat in that before. Not in a while, but I've sat in that before. And then there's the ones that you're talking about, which is like you're just watching on TV.
You like Kansas City in the money line? You like Kansas City money line?
I am at the point where I don't pick against Patrick Mahomes anymore. I think that AFC Championship game was the last time.
Yep.
I will do it.
That's a good defense, too. All right, Bert Breer, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go.
Bert.
And the Wallaholics, that was a gift to you, an early Valentine's Day gift, a love letter from John to you. That'll do it for us. I'm sorry we couldn't get to a crossover, but there was business that had to be done.
Hey, it's Friday. We're going to go. They're going to do one more show, and they're going to get the hell out of there. We're all going to get the hell out of here. Let's go.
Yeah, they better leave 7 hours before their flight, the way they're talking about it. All right, we will be back on Monday. It's going to be – don't look for Hardy to bringing anything to the table because he's going to be too pooped to pop because he's been chomping at the bit. He can't wait to get out of here. He's got his bags packed.
Can't wait.
He's got Super Bowl fever. That'll do it for – he's going to have the Super Bowl flu on Monday. That's going to do it for us. Everyone have a great day. Enjoy Zolak and Bertrand. Bye.